No, we're studying. I was just, crazy job. So here, support Sorry, no. Sorry, we apologize. I'm so sorry. We're gonna let it get a bad dream. This is not Uber. Yeah, let me get my hands too.
Should we start? Okay, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. Okay, we're gonna start, guys. So, sister, you had a question earlier. Okay, later. Go ahead. أما بعد فاعتقاد الفرقة الناجية. Next paragraph. Before you read the next paragraph, one thing that I want to comment on is in every hadith we have in relation to as-salah was-salam ala Rasulillah, it always included the al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet sallallahu al. Al-Nabi sallallahu, when we say sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alih, al-Nabi sallallahu, al-ulama rahimahumullah interpreted in two ways. Number one, they said Alun Nabi Sallallahu, it means his family members. And that will include his wives and his children and his relatives. Alu Aqeel wa Alu Bani Hashim wa Bani Abdul Muttalib. So this will include the Prophet Sallallahu family. Other scholars said the Al in Arabic language also could means the followers. So we said Sallallahu ala Muhammad. It means wa alih, yani, oh Allah, as-salah from Allah, it means blessings and praising. So Allah bless and praise Muhammad sallallahu and his followers until the day of judgment, basically, or this is dua applied to me and you, those who follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so this is the case. In the early time, in the first couple of 100 years in Islam, or 2 generations, 3 generations in Islam, you will not see at all the mentioning of the companions, وَصَحْبِهِ. You would never see this in the ahadith, you would never see this in the books of hadith and narrations, the word وَصَحْبِهِ and his companions. So it's always al, without companions. The Prophet ﷺ family without mentioning the companions. Why is that? Why it appeared later on, but not early on the time? Yes?
There was no reason
because no reason to mention them specifically. The only reason that the companions were mentioned and became so, Ahl Sunnah became so adamant about it and you know, making sure it is mentioned, only when the concept of cursing the companion came up. When people start cursing the Prophet ﷺ companion. When did this started it? It started during the Abbasi dynasty. And it started in particular during the leadership of a person by the name of Al-Ma'mun, who made it an official and even engraved, a'udhu billah, engraved in the mihrab of the Masajid al-Muslimin, the curse of Abu Bakr and Umar. He took people to go and to engrave this. And that's Al-Dhahabi rahimahullah mentioned that in his biography, talking about Al-Ma'mun. And he said, Rafidiyun Jahmiyun Jald. He is basically an extreme Rafidi, that he supported that idea and ordered some of the khatib even to curse Abu Bakr and Umar in the masjid. So it became a reaction. You curse the companion and you say they are kuffar. So at that time the ulama start adding وَصَحْبِهِ in the salah. Question, is this bid'ah? Somebody said, how can you add? Not just because reaction you can change the religion. The answer for this, no problem, and that's why. One, because saying sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alih, the al, according to many scholars, include what? The companions, include all the followers. So when we added وصحبه is only يسمونه خصوص بعد العموم, is only to mention one example of those group that you making salah upon them, which is the companions. Why you mention them in particular? To show the value of them. It's like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, those who believe in the angels and Jibreel. It's not because Jibreel is different than the angel. He mentioned Jibreel just to mention his status. So the same thing. Al include all the followers, and the Sahaba because they are the best followers. That's number one. Number two, it is actually, according to many scholars, it is allowed to say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam because it's a form of dua. You say, Ya Allah, praise and bless so and so. So it's a form of dua, and the dua can be given to anyone. It's not restricted to the Prophet. Can I say Sallallahu Wasallam ala Abi Bakr? Yes. Sallallahu Wasallam ala Ali? Yes. Sallallahu Wasallam ala Musa ibn Maryam? Yes. Sallallahu Wasallam ala Isa? Yes, I can say that. There's nothing wrong with that. But what is in Islam is that you're not allowed to make one person or one specific group other than the Prophet ﷺ's family, that they are always attached to the word sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Yani you cannot pick one person other than the Prophet ﷺ every time his name is mentioned to say sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi. For example, you cannot make Isa ibn Maryam or Musa alayhi salam or Adam or any prophet every time he's mentioned you feel like I'm obligated to say sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The only one have that right is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Is that clear? Yes. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Allahumma salli ala ali Abi Awfa. He made salah salam on the family of Abi Awfa. So he offers salah on individual other than himself. So the ulama said, occasionally you can say that. Like for example, I can say, Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Shafi', brother Shafi', or Shafa', or Haytham, or Sarah, or whatever your name is. Yes, it is allowed sometimes. But if I associate your name every time to mention, so sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, would be not right. That's why I do believe closer to the sunnah, you only mention the companions when there is need. If you are in an environment, if you are in a place where people, you need to show them the value of the Sahaba, you can say. But if there is no need, there is no need to include it. وَسَلِّمْ تَسْلِيمًا مَزِيدًا. You know, it is again, this basically word is also because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Taslima, and you ask Allah to save him. Muhammad sallallahu how can be saved after he died? In his life, you say, Ya Allah, save Muhammad, save him from being attacked. But after his death, what that means? Oh Allah, save Muhammad and his al and his companion. It means save his legacy, save his deen, save his sunnah. Okay? Also, it means save him literally. So in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, by these billions of salah salam made through history, he is saved sallallahu alayhi wasallam. His body is saved. It's a very interesting, inshallah, I'm planning to do a lecture, hopefully this year, about the attempt to steal the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam's bodies. through history, there is many attempts happen to break into the Prophet ﷺ's grave and to where he buried. And it's interesting to know the story behind it. It's a very interesting story. So a couple of times or several times it happened. So we pray that Allah protect his body. Okay? And that's part of the dua that we do. Protect his grave, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from being, as he said, Allahumma la taj'al qabri eida. The Prophet said, oh Allah, don't make my grave Eid, where people come and celebrate and you know, make sujood on it. Like some shrine today, you see, people go to the grave and make sujood in front of the grave. That's never happened to the Prophet ﷺ. That's why any fabricated story from what you hear, that oh, Bilal radiallahu an, he went and he touched the grave and he picked the stone of the grave, you know, it's fabricated just by reading the story. Because the Prophet ﷺ, since he died, his grave inside the room was basically blocked from the public. People don't have access to the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to live in the same home with a small, basically, wall in between her and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And after Umar was buried, basically soon after that, she closed that door and nobody was able to enter that room. Anyway, then he said, rahimahullah, go ahead. Yes.
My question was from the last session. You mentioned the 5 reasons why Allah is always deserving to be praised. Is He's the only love, the creator, the sustainer, because of his names and attributes.
The first 3 is one category.
Okay.
The first 3 points that you mentioned is one category. His rububiyyah.
And his legislation. I guess.
He deserved to be. He deserved all the type of praise because of 5 reasons, or goes to 5 areas. Because his rububiyyah, because he's the one who creates, he sustains, he blesses, he gives, number 2 is his ilahiyyah. He deserved that because he's the only one worthy of worship. And the third one because his names and attributes. The 4th thing is because of his legislation, the deen that he legislates, the message that he sent. And the 5th is because of his qadr, the decree, the way he planned things, the way he make things happen. You know, it's perfect how things happen. Like look at the story of Musa, look at the story of Yusuf, look at your own life. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala plan your life in certain ways and you say, wow, this is perfect. Alhamdulillah. Yes.
قال الشيخ تقي الدين أما بعد فهذا اعتقاد الفرقة الناجية المنصورة إلى قيام الساعة أهل السنة والجماعة وهو الإيمان بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله والبعث بعد الموت والإيمان بالقدر خيره وشره
بالقدر خيره
وبالقدر خيره وشره
قدري
وبالقدر خيره وشره. This is the belief of the saved group, the victorious ones to the day of judgment, the people of the Sunnah and the Jama'ah, i.e. the belief in Allah, His angels, His books, His messengers, the resurrection after death, the belief in the divine decree, be it good or bad.
He said this is the belief, هذا اعتقاد. This is what you're going to read. This Aqeedah that he wrote, Al-Wasatiyyah, it was a request, came to him from a city it called Wasit. Wasit, it's a city in Iraq. Wasat means middle, and it was called Wasil because it's exactly in the middle between basically Al-Kufa and Al-Basra, 2 cities in Iraq. If you have a line between them, exactly in the middle, in the center of that line, it will be the city of Wasit. That's why it was called Wasit, because it's in the middle between these 2 cities. So one of the judges there sent to Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah a letter. He said, we would like you to write for us a summary of the belief that a basic, average Muslim must have to be among those who are saved and victorious. The saved group and victorious one. Okay, to be among the true believer. Just give me what I need to believe in, or what I should teach the public. So he wrote this book, rahimahullah, between Dhuhr and Asr. He was sitting on a tree and he wrote the whole entire book. No, next to the tree, okay, good. No, you're good. He is not on the tree. He was, did I say on the tree? Oh, sorry.
I thought maybe this was something special. It was in the branches.
No. Thank you for correcting me. I do all these funny mistakes. So, no, he was sitting, rahimahullah, in the shade of a tree. Okay? His back against to the trunk of the tree, stretching his feet and holding his papers with his hands and his pen with his hands, writing down this answer to that judge from Wasit. One thing, observation about Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, most of his work was basically a respond to requests or responds to problems that people send him a letter, say, we have this problem, this issue, can you refute this? So he write a book, okay, or a book that is very popular in his time, and he wrote a refutation for it. Like, for example, Al-Razi's book. He wrote his refutation to that book in one of the most beautiful book ever written in our history. It's called Dar'u Ta'arud al-Aqli wal-Naql. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he was very fascinated by this book, and he said, وَلَيْسَ لَهُ فِي الْوُجُودِ نَظِيرٌ ثَانِي. There is no other book written, okay, by people similar to this book. And it's very, very deep book, very, very interesting book. Anyway, also he wrote, for example, a refutation to the Shia famous book, Minhaj al-Karam al-Hilli. He wrote Minhaj al-Sunnah as a refutation for it. Very few things that Ibn Taymiyyah initiated, and one of them is this book, Al-Wasatiyyah. He kind of initiated from his own the writing. I think if Ibn Taymiyyah spent more time in initiating books like this, we wouldn't have way more than what we have today. And it became very, very unique. Because when you respond to someone, you are restricting yourself to the area of response and limit your ability to, or limit your horizon. Anyway, he making this very interesting now. He's saying, فَهَذَا اعْتِقَادُ الْفِرْقَةِ النَّاجِيَةِ الْمَنْصُورَةِ إِلَى قِيَامِ السَّاعَةِ. This is the belief of the saved group. And he said, the victorious one until the day of judgment. Al-i'tiqad comes from the word aqeedah. This is when you make a knot. You take the rope and you make a knot to connect two things together. That's uqdah, that's aqeedah, which it means basically you make a knot inside your heart on what? Ta'qid al-qalb, on what is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah means. This knot, it means something very strong. That's right. Cannot be break, like they call Carolina knots, and there is many different type of knots. You know, they teach you in Boy Scouts, and they teach you in, if you go fishing, if you in Marines and stuff like that, they teach you all this kind of different type. But the point is, it is some of these things will never break. So that's the whole point. Al-Aqeedah is something so strong in your heart, you cannot break it. You cannot break it. And that's, he said, this is the aqeedah. This is the thing that you should believe in firmly in your heart. Okay? And it has to be based on what? An absolute knowledge. What is the i'tiqad? He basically said that the aqeedah of the Muslim is these article of faith, the 6 article of faith. Believing in Allah, the angel, the kutub, the rusul, the ba'th, بعد الموت, and الإيمان بالقدر خيره وشره. Because these are the pillars of Iman. He said, Al-Firqatu Najiyah, the saved sects. This description came in Hadith Muawiyah radiallahu anhu ardah, but the word Najiyah never came in any Hadith. The word Najiyah, okay, never came in any text. So the word Najiyah, kida, this specific format, never mentioned in any text in Quran and Sunnah. But it is understood from what? From the Hadith Muawiyah radiallahu anhu and others, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that this ummah will be divided, and all of these sects go to hellfire except one will be saved, except one will not basically be among the people of hellfire. So, or will not end in hellfire. So because it is saved in the day of judgment, that's where the name came from. Najiyah, يعني a saved sect, will be saved in the day of judgment from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And firqa, it means group, okay? And one of the narrations in Abi Dawood, he said that saved one is al-jama'ah. And we'll talk more about this. Saved from hellfire. Is that the only kind of safety and security promised to this group? The ulama said no. Those people also disbelieve, or this group that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, are saved in the day of judgment, and they are saved in the dunya. Saved in the dunya from what? Saved in the dunya from mistreating the text of the Quran and Sunnah. Saved from confusion. Saved from bad ending. And I can tell you something. I have not seen someone leave the Quran and Sunnah unless I'm so worried about their khatimah. I'm so worried about how they end their life. Because most of those people at death, they flip. Things weird happen to them, or they ruin their life with their own hand before they die. Those who don't follow the Quran and Sunnah, أكثر الناس ردة, the most common people to leave Islam. And to exactly. It's a very serious issue. So that's why the more you stick to the correct belief, the more that guarantee you a good ending, that you end your life upon the right way. That's why if you look to the ulama Ahl Sunnah, those who follow the footsteps of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, look at all of them, their death. Their death is so comfortable, with so much yaqeen, they're very certain about their belief, no confusion. Look at many of Ahl al-Kalam. Look at Abu al-Ma'ali al-Juwayni when he died. Look at Al-Ghazali when he died. Look at Razi when he died. Even though they are great scholars on Sunnah, but look at the amount of confusion and regret that they had Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari before he died. Look at, this is his history. It's not we making this up. This shows you that the people who, during the course, alhamdulillah that Allah saved some of these scholars because their good intention, their love for Sunnah, to end their life good. But look at the amount of hayra and confusion and so confused upon their life. One of them would say, I'll spend the whole night covering my head, don't know what to believe. The whole night. And that's Abu al-Ma'al al-Juwayni, named as Imam al-Haramain, the Imam of the two Haramain. Great scholar, Shafi'i scholar. But because in this area of Aqeedah, he didn't just stick to the Quran and Sunnah, he entered to the area of philosophy. That's why Ibn Salah said about his Shaykh Al-Ghazali. He said, Al-Ghazali rahimahullah, دخل في بطن الفلسفة وما عرف كيف يخرج منها. His own students, Ibn Salah, and he said that our Shaykh Al-Ghazali entered to the philosophy, the philosophical argument about God. He entered that dark hole and he didn't know how to get out of it. And even if you get out of it, you never get out of it clean. You never get out of clear. And there's so many examples like this. So this is one of the saved, that you are saved. The most saved belief is the belief of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And that's what basically tried to explain in this book, rahimahullah ta'ala. And the most common understanding of the word saved in the hadith, when he said all of them except one, they mean it is saved in the hereafter and victorious in this dunya. What the victory that promised to those people? The victory for those people are two types of victory. And one of them is rarely happen, which is they are victorious in the sense they have power, a physical power. They basically taking they're leaders. That's not common thing. Through history, Ahl Sunnah al-Jama'ah didn't always been the people of power, like in charge. But the power and the victory that been given, which is not ظهور السنان وظهور الجند, ظهور الحجة والبيان. It is they are victorious in their argument. They are always victorious when it comes to the argue, to what is right and what is wrong. You know, one of the most common thing here in America that I found when the first week for me in America, I found how confusing this is. And that's because, in my opinion, has to do with Christian traditions background. And every culture impacted by the culture impacted by many factors. One of it is the religion. So one of the first things that I notice here, that people always have this idea. How would you know it's the truth? So you always have this, how would you know this is the correct one? I know it's the correct one. I have no doubt in my heart, that's right and that's wrong. فَمَاذَا بَعْدَ الْحَقِّ إِلَّا الضَّلَالِ. What's after truth except falsehood? The people who come from a culture that there is no haqq and there is no batil, there is no right and there is no wrong, it is because they don't have a standard to refer to. They don't have resource to refer to. If you resource, there is no reliable resource. Everything is many copy of the book, many different translation of the book. And if you notice in the hadith of the division, Muslims will be divided more than the Christian and Jews. But we still have the haqq clear. We still have the haqq. Why? One of the reasons, because our book is saved. Our sunnah is saved. Remember, some of you came late. I'm talking about the area where we've been ordered to believe. Not the ilm with the science of Aqeedah with all these branches and details. These details, yes, there is like debate and maybe there's the gray area. But when you talk about is Allah is the only one should be worshipped, there's no doubt about that. It's as clear as the sun in the middle of the sky. Is Muhammad ﷺ is the last final messenger? Yes, it is the last final messenger. There is no two opinions about it. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all His names perfect? Yes. So all these areas where we've been ordered to believe, it is as clear as anything you can think of. While you have, if you look at nations before us, the basic things in the religion is confusing. Who is God? He's one, He's three, He's this, He's that. You look, ask any rabbi that you ever meet. Tell him, explain to me the hereafter. The first thing, oh my God, this is so confusing. I don't know how to explain it to you. In the Jewish tradition, we have this. So confused. You would never find this in Islam. Yes, we might have a debate, is the trumpet will be blown 2 or 3 times. But you will never have debate that there is a trumpet will be blown. Allah never ordered us to believe how many times to be blown. But Allah ordered us to believe that there is a day of judgment, and that will happen when a sign from Allah comes. See? So the Aqeedah, which it means the thing that you've been ordered to believe, is as clear as the sun in the middle of clear sky. And that's something so beautiful. And one of the biggest difference between the Sunni approach and the Mu'tazili approach, that the Sunni approach believe that the haqq is one, is not multiple. While the Mu'tazila said the haqq can be multiple. It can be, this is correct, and the contradicting opinion can be correct, and all of them can be correct for them. Ahl Sunnah said no. The problem with the Mu'tazila and those who go this route versus Ahl Sunnah said no. The haqq, the truth is one. But those who didn't believe in the truth, it doesn't mean that they are doomed. It doesn't mean that they are evil. It doesn't mean that they are necessarily in hellfire for, like, that's not true. Because Nabi ﷺ said, if al-hakim, if someone make ijtihad, make an opinion, what did the Prophet ﷺ said? فَأَصَاب, he make it correct, 2 ajr. Then the other one he said what? أخطأ, made a mistake. So that means it's not a double right. It's not this right and this right. No, it means this right and this is wrong. So there is right and there is wrong. But the Nabi ﷺ said that this is, see, he mentioned that it is wrong. It's not like, oh, this is my ijtihad, so it has to be correct. No, your ijtihad can be wrong. Your opinion can be wrong. And it classified in Sharia as wrong. But can be excused? Yes. But excusing you does not change the fact that this is wrong. Is that clear? This is very also essential point that, you know, not because you did something wrong, it means you are doomed. But you know what? We differentiate between the action and the actor. But we have, that what kept the religion saved all the centuries. I have a lot of friends who are liberal Muslims. And I have a lot of people that I know who are liberal Muslims in the Muslim community, and they are on rise. And I have no problem with you know, some of the, but what I'm afraid of the most, that when we try to, the problem with many liberal Muslims, they try to liberalize Islam in a sense, to change the deen, just to fit in. The problem when you do that, at one point in your life, you realize, you know what, I don't need all those things. So, at that point in your life, you want to go back what? To your root, to your deen. But you'll find that you already changed it. You know what? You want to be a liberal, you want to have fun with women, you want to have fun with no hijab, you want to have fun with, you know, gambling, partying, you want to have fun with all these things in life. Do it if you want. But keep the religion clean. So at one point in your life when you get old and you get over this stuff and you come down, you know that there is something you come back to it. But some people don't want to feel guilty. So they're trying to change it, and that's so dangerous because that's what kept Islam through all these centuries. We don't doom people. We don't judge people in a way that, you know, we could judge their akhirah. They're between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we always want to keep this religion so safe, so protected. So through all this history, that in my opinion what kept Islam clear, because the sources is clear. Everybody tried to change the religion, it was rejected. You know, if you study the history, for example, at one point we have this movement to change the text of the Quran, to write it in Latin, to write it in different languages. You know, ulama rahimahumullah, they said you're not even allowed to write the Quran other than the Uthmani's way of writing. Why you think they are to protect the source? They protect the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That's why it's a one common thing in every aqeedah of the scholars. Al-Razi, Imam Ahmad said, and any hadith that you have, or you seen, or you come across, you don't understand, you don't reject it. Accuse your understanding and don't accuse the hadith. To keep that religion, because someone else will come later on and will figure out a reason for it. A wisdom, maybe you don't know. So again, remember the principle. The principle is we made the Quran Sunnah the judge, not us judging the Quran Sunnah. We follow the Quran and the Sunnah. Anyway, so that basically Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah saying that this is the i'tiqad that provide that safety, provide that victory, victorious. And as I said, the ulama rahimahullah said this victory in the dunya through debate and through Ahl-Sunnah's belief is so simple, so straightforward. I heard once one of my Shaykh saying a story about one of the Mu'tazila who was debating a young man. Okay? So this young man, the Mu'tazili doesn't believe that Allah speak. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for them in Mu'tazila said Allah doesn't speak. He doesn't talk. So this person was telling this young man, you should be so careful. You claiming that Allah talks. If He talks, He became like human beings. Human beings are the one who talks. If He talks, that means He has vocal, what do you call that? Cords and, you know, throat and this tongue. You're making Allah human, this is kufr. What would you do if you come in the day of judgment and you stand before Allah and Allah asks you, how come that you did that? And you said that. So the young man said, oh, I'll tell him, oh God, who you talk to me now? If Allah asked me in the day, well, how come I said that you are talking? I said, here you are, you're talking. Ahl-Sunnah belief is so simple, so straightforward, so easy to recognize. Shaykh Ahmad Didat once said in India, I'll just give you a different level of debate, how simplicity the religion is and straightforward. Ahmad Didat said, in India, at one point, the Shaykh said, you're not allowed to debate the British. The British used to bring priests and people to debate and to raise doubts about the religion. So they gather all those Muslims in one place, and they bring someone who studied a little bit history of Islam. So they bring this young man, and they debated him in front of people, and they asked him, is Muhammad was a true prophet? Yes or no? He said, yeah. He said, so when Muhammad died, he was in the presence of God, that's right? He said, yeah. He said, his grandson Al-Hussein. He said, what about him? He said, wasn't he killed? He said, yes, unfairly, thirsty. He knows the history. And his blood was spilled, and this is the most beloved one to his heart. He said, yes. And he said, if he was truly a prophet, and he's truly in paradise, in presence of God, why didn't he said, God help my grandson? So the young Indian guy said, he did. So the priest got shocked, or whoever debating it got shocked. He said, what? He said, yeah, he screamed with a louder voice, God, God, help my grandson, they're killing him. He said, did he? He said, yeah. But God told him, if I couldn't save my own son, how can I save your grandson? He said, because he's being sarcastic, you know? I couldn't save my own son, I want to save your grandson. So basically, simplicity, that's the secret, I think, of this religion and this belief. That's why, see, simplicity. I give you another example of simplicity. There were a very famous scholars, who very famous Muslim philosopher, Hamadani, teaching people about the throne and Allah being above the world. How can be he above the world? Would the world have a different dimension? What that means, in and out, and all this philosophical thing. Al-Juwayni, sorry, so Al-Hamadani came to him and he said, yeah, Imam, my teacher, my master, can you tell me how you explain this natural fitrah in your heart? Whenever you want to call upon Allah, you just say, Ya Allah, you raise your hand up. How can you explain that? I never seen anyone when he say, Ya Allah, Allah, you know, Allah is everywhere. Like, nobody ever make dua like this. It's just natural. People just go like that. He said, can you explain that to me? It's a simplicity. So Abu al-Ma'ali put his hand like this. This is a great, famous debater and scholar. And he said, hit his head. And he said, Hayyarani al-Hamadani. He confused me. And he left the class and he never taught again until he died. That was the end of his life, actually. It was a turning point in his life. So when you see, all what I'm saying is that this is a safe sect because it saves you from this confusion, because of, and victorious, because the argue behind it is so strong. This particular statement of Ibn Taymiyyah was one of the reasons that he was put in jail. Why? Because the people who didn't agree with him, they brought him in front of the Khalifa and they told him, you said that this is the belief of the saved and the saved group and the victorious one. So are you saying, if I don't believe in Al-Wasatiyyah, I am doomed to hell? Type, so many of you guys never read this book before. That means you're going to hellfire? You're not among the saved sect? That's what they told him. Obviously, that's not what the Ibn Taymiyyah is talking about. Okay, because everything here, most likely, all of you know and you believe in. You know, it's kind of playing with the word. Then he said, why did you say that? And he said, I never said that. I said, what I said, that this is the belief. He said, what if someone disagree with you in some of this belief? He said to them, what I said before, I challenge everybody to bring anything that's against the Quran and Sunnah. And he said, what I said, if there is sect and group don't believe in what is in this book, they are threatened by the hellfire. But it doesn't mean necessarily that they will go to hell. It's like when Allah said, if you steal, you go to hellfire. It doesn't mean every thief will go to hellfire. Now, fornicators, aren't they threatened to go to hellfire? That's right. But Ma'iz and Al-Ghamidiyya, the Ghamidiyya woman and Ma'iz, didn't they fornicated? And they die from here and they were swimming in the river of Jannah next second. Their soul leave the earth to go to paradise. No hellfire, even though they were fornicator. Because they have done tawbah, they have done something to cover it. So Ibn Taymiyyah told them, this is a threat to those who have a corrupt belief, with the hellfire. But it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone doesn't agree with this, go to hellfire. Maybe they are forgiven, maybe they are ignorant, maybe they have, other hasanat will overcome this sin. It became like any sin. And that was the answer of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, until the day of judgment. Let me tell you how he said it. Once to the day of judgment. To the day of judgment, إلى قيام الساعة, يعني ساعة المؤمنين. Not the actual day of judgment. It means until the time of the believers in the day of judgment. Because the time of the believer in the day of judgment will expire right before the day of judgment starts. Does that make sense? No. I'll say it again. The time of the believers in the day of judgment will expire way before the day of judgment actually take place. Allah will send a wind, a smoke, that every believer smell it will die. And will believe in the earth only the disbelievers. And those people are the one who are going to witness the collapse of the stars and all the things that you read in the Quran about the day of judgment. The turning the mountain to dust and blah, blah, blah. So the believer will never witness that, alhamdulillah. They are saved from this. So here, until the day of judgment, yani until the time that basically appointed for them right before the day of judgment. Ahl al-Sunnati wal-Jama'ah. This needs a quiet explanation, but it's 50 minutes already. By the way, there are so many things I say it now because it paved the way for the next. So I didn't need to repeat it next sessions and stuff like that. Let's have a break for 5 minutes and we'll come back, shall we? I'll start exactly in 5 minutes. Okay. Is that working? Working? Okay. Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. This is another description of Al-Firqah Al-Najiyah, the victorious group. Then he said Ahl Sunnah, the people of Sunnah and the people of Jama'ah. It is important to have a little bit of a historical background to understand how this whole entire division happened in the Muslim Ummah, the story behind it, and where's this names came from, like Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the people of Sunnah, the people of Jama'ah, where did it came from? So, by the end of the time of the companions, by the end of the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu, because by the beginning of Ali's time, the vast majority of the people alive at that time were not Sahaba. As Ibn Taymiyyah said that, Ibn Al-Qayyim said that, Ibn Hajar said that, and many. He said, Al-Qarn al-Awwal finished by the Ali ibn Abi Talib terms, or like during Ali ibn Abi Talib time. The Al-Qarn, it means generation, it means the vast majority of generations, the vast majority of people were not the companions. So that means we are in the second generation. It's not like 100, 200, 300, no. Like in the first 100 years, you will have the tabi'in and you have the tabi'in started. Okay? So here we talk about that by the mid of Ali radiallahu anhu time, you have the majority of the people were not the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the second generation in Islam. By the end of Muawiyah Yazid time, you have the third generation of Islam. Okay? So this is basically roughly how it is. You have here at this point, in the end of Uthman radiallahu anhu time, there were a group of young Muslims, mainly, many convert Muslims, and the rest are like the children of the companions, young successors. They were upset with the Uthman radiallahu anhu arda. And I'm not going to go into we're going to talk later about this. But there are certain changes happen, certain decision made, regardless you agree or you disagree with it. There is a group of people, take this to the second level. What the second level? Take it to carry arms and to make a threat to Uthman radiallahu anhu. Not only to make a threat, they actually surrounded Uthman radiallahu anhu's house. And they did not allow him to pray in the masjid. And they threatened him to do that. And one of them reached to the level, see how you start with something that you end up very far. One of them, and this is in Akhbar al-Madinah, Ibn Qutaybah, he, in one of the most authentic sources in history of Medina, the history of Medina by Ibn Qutaybah, he mentioned that one of those people he said, what does Uthman think his authority comes from? From this, and he was holding the stick of the Prophet ﷺ. You know, in Nabi ﷺ, when he give khutbah, he always hold into a stick, cane, or a stick, he holding it. It's a symbolic thing, okay? And he think because he holding a Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's cane or a stick, it means he's a khalifa, he's an authority. Then he take it and he broke it. A'udhu billah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's stick, he broke it and he threw it on the ground. It means nothing. And it's been said that this man, actually, a piece of that wood enter his knees and killed him. He died 2 days later on, infected and became very bad, and he died. They said he killed by the Prophet ﷺ's stick. Anyway, they basically, Uthman tried, he went to the masjid, he started the khutbah, they took the shoes, threw the shoes at him, they took the stones, threw the stones, he couldn't give khutbah al-Jumu'ah, he was injured, he was dragged down from the khutbah. So if you ever have a fitna in your masjid, you say, alhamdulillah, didn't reach that level. That's the time of what? Of Uthman. We are how far from the Prophet ﷺ's death?
22 years.
23, by the end of his life, it's about 30 years, 28, something like that. End of Uthman's time. Yeah. 24. So you talk about only 20 plus something years from the Prophet's death. And those small group but loud. Very loud. Small but loud. Where's the companions? Most of the companions at that time, they were in Hajj. So they were not in Medina. And they took advantage of this. They ended up surrounding him and they said, let's make the move. They killed Uthman radiallahu anhu. And to the extent, guys, that Uthman radiallahu anhu was not even allowed to be buried or the funeral janazah to be prayed. They said, you pray inside your... They said he's kafir. And they killed him in a very bad way. Today, if you go to Al-Baqiyah, Allah alam how authentic it is, but you'll find that Uthman's grave is very far away from the rest of the companions because they took back roads in the middle of the night to bury him without anybody noticing. So those people, they were rebels. The vast majority of the companions never agree on to deal with these things in this matter. So for example, Usama ibn Zayd, some people came to him and he said, why don't you talk to Uthman? There is wrong things happening. We don't agree on some of the decisions that he made. So what Usama ibn Zayd told him, Usama ibn Zayd said, you think that I speak to the leaders in front of you to show up? Off? No, I speak to Uthman in private. I advise him in private. Even with someone disagreed with Uthman like Abu Dharr, what he did, he just went off and he stayed away from Medina. So there were people doing it, but the Sahaba never ever, their disagreement with Uthman led them ever to what? Rebel, or to pull their hands from their bay'ah, or to turn against him by fighting or killing, or transferring this to even bigger mess like what they did. Not only that, after they killed him, they went and they said, if Allah allowed us to spill his blood, his money is also halal. So they took his money too. And a'udhu billah, they two of them fought, and if I'm not mistaken, even one of them killed the other over a pot of Uthman's pot. How dana'a, how low those people were. So into the dunya. They're fighting over a pot. So in my mind, they start fighting one another over it. Anyway, so here we're saying that this became a break of what? Of the jama'ah of the Muslimin. The Muslims ummah unified under their leader. And those people come to break that jama'ah, break that unity, break that agreement and acceptance to that leader. You follow? Also, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum believe certain things, that this is not Islamically the right way to do this. So those people break away from that consensus of the companions. Okay? Go forward 5 years. Ali ibn Abi Talib with all the problems, no stability, blah, blah, blah. If Ibn Taymiyyah has a famous statement, Ibn Taymiyyah said, إن كان عثمان تأول في الأموال فعلي تأول في الدماء. If Uthman radiallahu anhu have his justification of some of the financial decisions that he made, according to his opinion as a leader, Ali radiallahu anhu had made many justification for the wars that he declared against other people, for also his own opinion and his own ijtihad. That's why there is a lot of war happened during. But in the end of the day, even Ali, with the people that he disagreed with, like Muawiyah, like Talha, like Zubair, you know, when he was fighting Talha and Zubair, when Dhuhr prayer comes and the adhan called, Ali will be leading the prayer. The enemy, the people who were fighting them, they come and line behind them and pray together. Which is something very weird for me. I can't comprehend that. They pray together. But there is like, you know what? We completely disagree on one thing, which is we have to kill the killers of Uthman. The killers of Uthman must be killed. Ali said, no, I can't kill them. There's too many of them. It needs to be stability. It will create more fitna. But anyway, this we'll talk in the end of the Aqeedah Al-Wasatiyyah. There is a whole section about this, like guidelines. But my point here, in the end of the day, all of them agree on certain principle. Number one, that all the companions are Muslims. All the sins that was sin, it's a sin. It doesn't take the person fall out of the fold of Islam. That's why they used to pray behind each other. In the end of the day, none of them was after power. Yani Ali was not fighting for the power. Muawiyah was not fighting to be a powerful person. They are all fighting for establishing justice. Okay, not for the dunya. And so these were very clear for them. In the midst of all this, there is a group came out and they said, you know what? Who fighting each other? Ali radiallahu anh fighting Muawiyah and Zubair and Talha. You know what? You guys fight one another, so you're not Muslims anymore. You are kuffar. You're out. So they took them out of the fold of Islam. And that was the first time in history of Islam that someone make a massive takfir, like a massive declaration to group of people, thousands of people to go to hellfire like that. I said they are not Muslims. That only? No. They said because the vast majority of the companions didn't participate, or the successor didn't participate in the war. Ibn Musayyib said there were about 10,000 companions in that time. Few hundred participated in the war and the rest didn't. In some narration, 5,000. So that means the vast majority. So those group known as the Kharijit, they said, if you participate in the fight, you're not Muslim. And if you didn't participate and you don't believe that they are not Muslims, you are not Muslims. So if you don't agree with us, and that's the concept where it came from. من لم يكفر الكافر فهو كافر. If you don't believe that this kafir is kafir, you became kafir like him. So for them, they declare Ali kafir. If you don't believe that, you're like with him. That's why Al-Khawarij, they used to stop people on the highway. And they will stop them with weapon. And they will ask Ibrahim, what do you think of Ali? What do you think of Muawiyah? If he said they are Muslim, you're out, you're kafir. I had a sister in Houston, long time ago. Not my sister, a sister in the community. She wanted to get married to this guy. So I said, I need your wali. She said, my father is one of these crazy guys. So I called her father in one of the countries to take a permission to represent him in marrying her to the guy. So the father, this is a real story. The father told me in the phone, who are you? I said, I'm the imam of the masjid, blah, blah. He said, you sounds like somebody Saudi. I said, yeah, I grew up in Saudi Arabia. He said, what do you believe about Bin Baz, Shaykh Bin Baz? What do you think of Shaykh Bin Baz? I said, he is my teacher, my Shaykh. He said, he is kafir. I said, no, I don't believe that. He said, so you are kafir like him. I said, I have a good news for you. He said, what? He said, your daughter is kafir too. And the guy is going to marry his kafir too. So thank you for your call, and hang up. Straightforward, in my face. He told me that. So this is idea, that's the root came from. Anyway, so go back to this issue. So they said that they are kuffar. So now for them, they came up with a way to separate themselves from all Muslims. And they came to a very small village in Iraq called Harawra. They stayed there and they lived there. So they isolate themselves from what? From the Jama'ah, from the Muslim Ummah, who by that time unified or almost unified behind Ali radiallahu anhu wa ardah. And even Muawiyah has no problem with Ali, but his problem was just, I will give you the bay'ah, but kill the killer of Uthman first. So anyway, so those people know they split and also came up with the idea that contradict what the Sahaba did. You following how things goes? They came up also with another idea. They said, we can't believe in the Sunnah. We reject the Sunnah. What that means? So we only take the Quran. That's why Aisha radiallahu anha, when a woman told her, why women when they have their period, they make up the fasting but not the salah. She said, Aharuriyatun anti, Sahih Muslim. Are you among the Haruriyya, among the people of Khawarij who don't believe it? That's what the Prophet said. Okay? So this idea of rejecting the Sunnah, you will find narrations of Ibn Mas'ud, some of the Sahaba, people pops up and they start raising doubts about the authority of the Sunnah. You following? Later on, as people so mean to Ali, making takfir to him, you have another reactions. People fighting Ali, so Ali need what? Allies. And those allies, which is we know in this history as the Shia. So those people came as a reaction to support Ali against his enemy, against those who fighting them. This idea developed until some people even worshipped Ali. They said that he is God walking on earth. And the most representative of this idea today is the Alawi regime in Syria, who believe that God came down on earth in many times. One of them during Ali time, and he walked on earth in the body of Ali. And they said he came back in Egypt in the body of what? Al-Hakim bi Amrillah. And so they have this belief, the Alawis. Anyway, but this is the most extreme version of it, but there is a lot of others. So you have this idea who basically what those people said, listen carefully. They said, you know, all these problem comes because fighting over who is in charge. Blah. If Ali was in charge from the beginning, we wouldn't have all this problem. He deserved it, he's Ahl al-Bayt. In order for you to say that he deserved it, you need what? Proof. So they said, actually Allah appointed him. Appointed him? Where is it? Where is that he appointed him? How would you get out of this? If you are at that time come up with this idea. If you said where is in the Quran that he appointed him, how can you get out of it? You said there is codes in the Quran. That's one way. Another way to say it was there, but it has been removed. It was there, but somebody took it away. Who took it away? The one who collected the Quran, Abu Bakr, Uthman, to hide the fact that because they saying that it is nas min Allah. Every single Shi'i Allah created so far believe that the Imam is appointed by God, is not appointed by people. If you true Shi'i, that's the belief, that's the essence of the belief, that Allah appointed these Imams after the Prophet ﷺ. But if you say, if this is the case, where is it? They will tell you either there is a code for it in the Quran, or they said this information hidden. Something happened to it. If someone hides something from religion, what those people are? Not Muslims, not trustworthy. And this the whole idea of that the Sahaba left Islam, except 7, except 14, except those who were very close friend of Ali radiallahu anhu. Because what are you going to do with this? Those who fought with him in the battle. This history, you cannot change that. How are you going to do with Al-Muqdad? What are you going to do with Ammar ibn Yasir who died defending him? And you can't say he's murtad. So they said all this, the only people left. So now you have people who rejected the companion. The question, who narrated to us the sunnah of the Prophet? The companions. Where do we get the sunnah from? From the Sahaba. Abu Hurairah. If Abu Hurairah kafir, how would you take his narration? If Jabir, you can trust of Anas. So what you do, it start having something other than the sunnah as a form. That's why if you study the Shia Usul Fiqh, you will find that they have something it called the authority of the statement of Ahl al-Bayt. So for them, the Imams have authority to legislate. What do you need to have this authority to legislate? Approval from Allah. And what else? Huh? Bloodline. But what else? You have to be what? To be infallible. Someone who never make a mistake. So that's why the concept of usmat al-a'imma, that the imams are infallible. Imam never make a mistakes. Imam can't. That's why in their usul fiqh they said the imam can abrogate a verse, can abrogate a hadith. Why? Because this has come to him from the same source of Allah, which is Allah revealed to them. Okay, so this idea, now you have people have other sources than what? The Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they have their own. That's why if you ever pick a book for Shia and you just any random book and you just start looking like this, you will find maybe 2-3 hadith, but you will find hundreds of قال Abu Abdullah, قال this, Abu Abdullah said, Ja'far al-Sadiq said, Al-Hadi said, all their fiqh and all their resources is not what the Prophet necessarily said. And I'm not in this class trying to judge Shia or Sunnah. That's not my goal. You know, I'm just to tell you facts. You can make that judgment, up to you. I'm just explaining to you why this term is going to come. Just a little bit push forward in history. Push forward in the history. Then you have people came and they said, you know, there is so many debate over the ahadith and we can't trust all of them. Then this idea of accepting some hadith and rejecting others. Why? Because I'm not sure if this is something logically I can accept. So I put my logic above the hadith, above the narrations. So if I don't like what this sounds like, it doesn't make much sense to me, they start rejecting it. So they started rejecting a lot of hadith, and they came up with this idea that, you know what, in order for me to accept hadith, this hadith must be narrated by a large number of narrators and it must be backed up by the Quran. Otherwise, I reject it. You follow? So later on, people said, pushing the history, later on people said, you know what, I accept the Quran and the hadith. That's fine. But I should not be entitled to understand them in the way that was well understood during the companions' time. I will make my own understanding. Maybe there is code for it. Maybe there is like hidden meaning. I can make my own twist, basically meaning for it. And they start coming up with all this ta'wil. All this through the history of Aqeedah led the scholars to use these terms, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Because through that history, ups and downs, there are certain people said we stick to the Sunnah, we stick to the Jama'ah. So when we say we stick to the Sunnah and Jama'ah, يعني we don't follow the idea that, for example, the Shia have, which is they follow what the Imam says. You follow the Imams, we don't follow that. We follow the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We cannot take that as source of religion. It's a fundamental differences. So those who said we only take certain type of hadith, they said no, we accept all the Sunnah. We don't pick and choose from it. So if you say ahad hadith cannot be taken in Aqeedah, ahad hadith can be taken in any way, no, we don't accept that. We take all the hadith. As long as it's authentic, we follow it. The Jama'ah, those who find the idea that it's okay to carry weapon against the Muslim rulers and to fight him, even though he is basically a ruler who is applying the Sharia to the people, they said, yeah. This approach, something been opposed by Ahlul Sunnah. So we are Ahlul Jama'ah. We're not the one who break the Muslim Ummah. We're not the one who cause civil wars in societies. Then they said, Ahlul Jama'ah, we're not the one who will ever make takfir to the companions. We won't ever say that they are kuffar. Or if there is a consensus in the Muslim Ummah on something, we don't break that consensus. We stick with the ijma'. That's the term Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah through history used to refer to. To refer to all those people who went and broke off the Sunnah or broke off the Jama'ah. Is that clear? Is that clear? So you understand why these terms came, and basically what's the historical background. It started from the end of the time of the companions radiallahu anhum, to refer to what happened during the time of the companions. Yes?
What reason did the Khawarij give to not follow the Sunnah? Is it because they declared all the Sahaba, you know?
One of it, yes. They said we can't trust it.
Basically the same reason why the Shia did it.
Yeah, but the Khawarij did not, they cannot make up statements and attribute it to their leaders. Because the Khawarij said lying is a sin. Not sin, kufr. Lying is kufr. The Khawarij believe lying is a major sin for them. Yeah, there is a lot of details about these groups. That it's not a history of sect class, but there is a lot of details about this idea. But I want you to understand where the terms Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah came from, to make the distinguish between those who stuck to the Sunnah wal Jama'ah through history, okay, versus those who did not stick to the Sunnah and Al Jama'ah. So Al Jama'ah represent two concepts, tangible and intangible. The tangible Jama'ah, when people are agreeing to be give bay'ah, their allegiance to a president or to a king or to whoever, a leader of the Muslim, and they basically all of them gather around him. You cannot break that. Okay? Unless there is a valid Islamic reason to break that. Like someone who became unjust, someone became basically kufr, promoting wrong, promoting kufr. In this case, the ulama said, yes, if it fisq, there is a debate between Ahl Sunnah. But if there is kufr and clear fisq, and the Muslim have the ability to change him without causing civil war and bigger problem, they must do. They have the power to walk in to say, hey, you are fired. Or the constitution. You know what, like best example, okay, you have the power. You have a Congress, you have a senator, for example. You know, if they impeach the president, they can impeach the president based on a very strong, a clear case, and they go and they said, you're impeached, you're removed from power. We remove you from office. Like not long time ago in Pakistan, I guess, that's what happened also, when the Supreme Court of Pakistan, they came and removed the president from power. You are out. There is no civil war, but that's power. So there is mechanism that give the people the ability to do that. I don't like the example of military coup, but there is one good example of military coup, only I know in my life, which is in Sudan. Siwar al-Dhahab. It's a military coup. They came and they removed this dictator Numeri from power. But you know what? This general, next thing he said, I give it to the public. He never was a president and run for president. He basically stabilized the country and he lived like a citizen until today. Siwar al-Dhahab. So this is basically when it comes to, because this person he crossed all the lines. But if you cross the line, and this fight will cause to a civil war, and a good example is Somal, for example, in Somal, and it caused a big problem, fitna, that until today didn't end. It's a civil war. So this is something Sharia will look into. Somebody will ask me, what about Syria? What about this? What about that? You know, these particular incident, you have to be aware of all we're not here to judge people or to judge incident. This is not the goal of this class, okay? But I do believe in Syria and especially in Syria, the cases are quite different because it never started as a war. The resistance was not a military, it's a non-violent resistance. And it's sanctioned by the constitution of the country, which has allowed people to demonstrate in Egypt and Syria. And basically, there is dictators there who kill them. Anyway, so may Allah make it easy for them. But my point is basically is to know where this term came from. Al-Jama'ah. The other meaning of Jama'ah is when people agree on something. The Ahlul Sunnah agree on it. The consensus of i'tiqad, of issue of belief. When you break that, you break the Jama'ah. So this Aqeedah, Ibn Taymiyyah trying to tell you, it is the thing that according to the Sunnah, according to the Jama'ah, according to the agreement of the ulama through the history of Islam. Yes?
Al-Sunnah al-Jama'ah and the Sunni Muslim are the same category?
Yes, exactly. So this basically, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah or Al-Firqah al-Najiyah, you might read in some of the books or some of the early scholars, use terms like Al-Bukhari قال, Al-Imam Ahmad قال, Al-Firqah al-Najiyah hum Ahlul Hadith. That's not Ahlul Hadith in Pakistan or Bangladesh or India. Maybe they are part of it, but that's what not Imam Ahmad meant. In Imam Ahmad time, Ahlul Hadith are the one who took very strong position to stick to the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in a time where people reject the Hadith. So it's not about Hadith versus fiqh versus tafsir. No, it's about the belief. Okay, Al-Bukhari said, "Hum Ahlul Ilm, Al-Firqah al-Najiyah, the people of scholar." But what about non-scholar people? They are like doomed? No, it doesn't. It does not really apply to a certain group in the ummah. It's a description. Those who saved are the one who will stick to the way of the Prophet ﷺ. As he said, "Ma ana alayhi al-yawm wa ashabi." What I practice today and my companions in Sunan Tirmidhi. So those who follow that path, the Quran and the Sunnah, and they practice and they hold into it and they hold to this, traditions of Islam according to the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the way the Sahaba radiallahu anhum followed, those people are the one who granted this safety and security. So it could be fiqh, fuqaha, it could be hadith, it could be tafsir, it could be just an geek, basically it could be a mechanic, could be a teacher, could be whatever your profession, just an average Muslim. As long as you have the right belief, that would make you among the safe section group. Yes? No, it became popular during, actually Ibn Abbas used the term. So it became popular from the time that there is the Khawarij came out. So it became but it became more popular later on after Imam Ahmad time, when there is a lot of Mu'tazila and Jahmiyyah who start saying things not according to the way of the Sunnah. Yes? The intangible one, when you gather upon ideas, like all the belief, like there is a consensus on this matter. That's an intangible jama'ah. Jama'ah ilmiyah wa jama'ah amaliyah. Jama'ah fil adyan wa jama'ah fil abdan. Yes?
Is it a coincidence that the framework of the Shiite texts for how they, the Imams have the agents, that's very similar to the Judaic framework as well? In the sense
it is very similarity, and that's what led Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said in his book Minhaj al-Sunnah Nabawiyah. He said that there is about 72 signs of similarity, and he mentioned that these areas, and the similarity is very interesting. I don't know how this came up, the similarity that happened. Like for example, the Shia will have certain foods that they don't eat, certain type of animal that they don't touch. Same thing, the Jews don't do that for the same exact justification. Or so something interesting. Yes, but the Shia is a very big term. There's about 50 different Shia groups, so don't generalize the talk as well. Yeah.
What is the sources of blind following when it started?
Blind following, where it started. It's a human thing. I don't know a specific point, but that's a human thing. People just when they love someone, they just follow them blindly, and they don't think. But okay, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is basically referring to to go back to the root. Ahl Sunnah referring to the people who hold into the Sunnah, hold into the Jama'ah, to the unity, to what the consensus of the Muslims is what the Muslims agreed upon. It comes to the Aqeedah. That's what identify Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The word Sunni, believe, it became very popular also to be Sunni versus Shi'i. Why? Because the issue of the Sunnah, that we stick to the Sunnah, we stick to the way of the Prophet, we stick to the Sahaba. The Shia were kind of not very clear about this issue. They take a lot of their resources, goes back to their Imams. So this make a big difference. That's why the Sunni Shi'i terms became very popular as well. So the word Sunni can be used in many different ways. Sunni versus Shia, or Sunni, the person who holds into the Sunnah in all aspects, not only in relation to the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Then he said to believe in Allah. Every one of these is going to come, especially the one believing in Allah is going to come in details. Okay, and these are the pillars of Al-Iman. Al-Iman, it means, is going to also, a lot of talk is going to come about what is Al-Iman is. Al-Iman is basically faith. It means at-tasdiq al-jazim, when you have an absolute belief, not only belief, absolute belief. Okay, وما أنت بمؤمن لنا ولو كنا صادقين ففرق الله بين الإيمان والصدق. Some ulama, they said al-Iman is a sidq. Al-Iman is to believe it's true. No, it's to believe it's absolutely truth. To believe in truth at one level, that's not Iman yet. Al-Iman is when it's absolutely true, in higher level in your heart. Okay, and Al-Iman is basically is to believe in certain article of faith, is to act upon them and to state them. That's why Iman is a combination of three things: belief and statements and actions. And more will come, inshallah, talk about this later on in the Aqeedah. Then he said to believe in Allah and in the angels. Believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to believe in Allah in His rububiyyah, that He's the only one created the world, own the world, control the world. To believe in His ilahiyyah, which it means He's the one who worthy of worship. To believe in His names and attributes, that He is subhanahu wa ta'ala, has the perfect attributes. Okay, so this, if you complete these three areas, you complete your belief in Allah Azza wa Jal. And another pillars, he mentioned the belief in the angels. Believing in the angel malaika, comes from the word alaka, which it means arsala, sent. The angel called angels in Arabic language malaika because they are sent. So every angel is sent to carry something. Every angel Allah created was sent to carry an order, was sent to basically, or sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a certain mission. So some of them are sent to collect the souls, like the angel of death. Some people call him Israel, and this is there is resources or sources trace back to non-Muslims like Ahlul Kitab, saying that it is basically Israel is the name of the angel of death. Some narrations in the Muslim tradition named him Abdul Rahman. Okay, the angel of death. So there's some narrations, not from the Prophet ﷺ, but some of the narrations said that that's what the name is. But we don't really know the name of the angel of the death. But we know one thing, that the angel of death has a lot of angels supporting him. Okay, and he has this ability, he takes the soul and he gives it to them. And he has this ability to get all these souls in the same time from different places in the world. It's amazing how many people die in the same second. And he is in every one of them. That's why when somebody tell me, how can Allah listen to all this dua? I said, if an angel of death, which is one angel, is not even the best and the greatest angel. The angel of death can do all this in one time. That's one of Allah's creation. What do you think of Allah Himself? So the ability of this, that's why it is something beyond just the logic that you are so familiar with, or the qiyas, or that you have in this life. The angels, believing in them is two levels. One level is the minimum required. To believe that Allah had created a creation called angels. And they are creation that they worship Allah. They don't disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are created to carry Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's order. That's sufficient to be a believer. Then after that we say, you must believe in the details if you get to know them. Yani if you ask someone, do you know Israfil? He said, I don't know Israfil. I don't know Israfil. You don't know Israfil? I don't know who Israfil is. This is an angel. He's not kafir. He's still a Muslim. But you tell him Israfil is the one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, and Mikael mentioned in the Quran, Jibreel mentioned in the Quran, the name. In this case, he must believe in them. And if you reject them, he reject what? Al-Quran. And he became rejecting the deen by rejecting the book, not by not believing in the angels. You understand? So, and this is all the details of the angels come after that. So all these details of the angel part of the second level of believing in the angels, which is higher level. Then believing in the books, okay, which is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have sent down to earth. Then believing in the messengers, and this is very unique order because Allah, the angels carry His orders and His message, which is the books, to the messengers. See the order? Make the logical order, they basically make perfect sense. Then these messenger, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have sent them to earth, to humans. Then you have after that to believe in the ba'ath, in the resurrection after death, which is the hereafter. Some ulama mention another pillar. They add one pillar. They said Al-Jannah wal Nar. They add Al-Jannah wal Nar. But Al-Jannah wal Nar is included anyway. So I don't think you need to add it to make them 7. It's basically to believe in the whatever after resurrection. And part of whatever after resurrection is Al-Jannah wal Nar. So you believe also in 2 levels. In the concept, the people will be resurrected. And they will be judged. And they will be punished and rewarded. There is Jannah and there is hellfire. That's the sufficient part. All the details is something to increase your iman, to increase your knowledge of it. Then Al-Qadr, to believe in Al-Qadr, which is, this is something he will talk about it in details when it comes inshallah, so you don't need to spend much time on it. These are the 6 pillars of iman according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. If you look to other sects, they also have pillars of iman, but see the difference. If you look, for example, to a group like Al-Mu'tazila, they said the pillars of Iman are 5. What are they? They said At-Tawheed, Al-Adl, Al-Amr bil-Ma'ruf wa Nahy al-Munkar, At-Tawheed, Al-Adl, it means justice, Amr bil-Ma'ruf wa Nahy al-Munkar, Al-Manzila bayna al-Manzilatayn, a status between the 2 status, okay, to be in between. And the next one is Infadul Wa'id, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must apply His punishment. If you look at these, they are not from the Quran, and so there is not even, maybe Tawheed, the first, even the meaning of Tawheed is completely not according to what the Quran. But look at even, they take their principles from their own principles, and the pillars of the Iman for them is taken from principle that they invented. Like al-manzila in between the 2 states. Something they invented, it's not even exist in the Quran. This term does not exist. That differentiates the way Ahl Sunnah from the others. Ahl Sunnah, the pillars are taken from Hadith Jibreel and taken from the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, in Ayat Al-Bir, and the last verses in Surah Al-Baqarah. So that's why Ahl Sunnah, they said, always rely on the Quran and Sunnah. The Shia, for example, said the pillars of Iman are 4. They said Al-Imama, which is number 1 for them. Al-Imama. Then Al-Nubuwwah comes next. Then Al-Adl, then Al-Tawheed. When I was in college, I had this debate with a friend. He's a colleague. He studied with us. He's Shia. So we had this like friendly debate. And we debating over the belief Shia. So just as a, university students. So I still remember I asked him, I said, it wasn't the university, and it's just interesting. And I said to him, I have one question for you. This is my whole debate is about. I said, what's the most important concept in Shiism? He said immediately, Imam, it's the first pillar of Iman. Is the Imam, to believe who your Imam is. And I said, excellent. Then he said, what about you? I said, for me, the most important principle in the Sunni belief is at-Tawheed. La ilaha illallah. And I said to everybody agreed? The Shia and the Sunnah and the audience said, okay. I said, this is my Mus'haf. I took the Mus'haf and I put it on the table. So I'm here, he's here, this here in the middle. I said, I would like you to show me how many verses in the Quran talking about the most important topic in religion. If it's the most important topic in religion, it must be mentioned a lot. It must be a clear issue. That's right. Is this right? What kind of God is that? Who talk about the most important thing, he doesn't talk about it in the book. Logically, it's impossible. So I said, I would like you to show me. Oh my God. He started like going around because he cannot ever say, he never said at least in front of me, that he believes that Sahaba is kuffar. Okay. Because he said that, he wouldn't be my friend. But, you know, he never believed that. So he's not this kind of person. But he couldn't find, he said, yeah, there is some verses, yeah, and he give hints, I understand, but that's what is the whole, I said, come on, whatever his name was, that's forgotten now. You know, come on, man. Yeah, and you want to tell me that the most important topic you have to think so many times, like, if you ask me, I can tell you, the first order, the first amr, fi'l amr in the Quran is about Tawheed in Surah Al-Baqarah, u'budu Allah wa la tushriku bihi shay'a. You know, I can tell you like from the beginning, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. I can like, it's so clear. I think you need to review that, man. I think you guys need to check this out. So what I'm saying is that's the power of the Aqeedah of Ahl-Sunnah. It is so founded in the Quran and Sunnah. That's why it is so victorious. It's so strong. You can argue that. You can win that argue with them. In many levels. One guy was once debating me and telling me, how come you say Allah has hand? I said, I didn't say that. Allah said that. Allah said, no, you don't know Arabic language. Arabic hand, it means power. I say, also Arabic language said hand, it means hand. I agree, Arabic means our power. Why it's not hand? He said, A'udhu Billah, if you say he has hand, he became like you. I said, okay, I have a question for you. He said, what? I said, are you exist? He said, what kind of question is that? I said, are you mawjood? Are you exist? He said, obviously I'm in front of you. I said, is Allah exist? He said, no, Shaykh Waleed, no, Waleed, don't play around with words. You know, Allah's existence is different than our existence. I said, Habibi, on Allah's hand is different than your hand. Why it has to be like your hand? As simple as that. So here, yeah, we're going to go. So what I'm saying is the power of Aqeedat Ahl Sunnah is so powerful. That's why it is Ahl Sunnah, At-Ta'ifatul Mansura. Regardless what people try to make it sound like this and that, in the end of the day, it's boiled down. It's the simplicity, the clarity, the evidence that back it up is unbelievable powerful. Okay, so we'll have break. Salat al-Asr. Yeah, we'll go pray and come back, inshallah.